Anyways, I'm not the star of the show. The star of the show here today is Hydrate Spark. And we've got the lovely Shari Graham joining us to share her experience with the research and development tax credit. Again, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope everyone was able to get their lunch, and if not, you can get the voucher retroactively, and think of us when you eat the lunch tomorrow. But we are thankful and happy and excited to chat today. So I'd like to first introduce ourselves, and then we'll run through a quick agenda, and then we'll get into it. So my name is Maggie Crowley, and I work for Leyton, which is the research and development tax credit firm. And my position at Leyton is the head of strategic development. So I work in several different sectors, from software to construction, and we identify great partners and clients for the R&D tax credit. And then Sherry, I'll let you introduce yourself. Actually, I don't want to butcher it. I think everybody always does a better job themselves.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you, Maggie. And thank you for allowing me to be here today and talk about the wonderful experience that Hydrate has had with the R&D tax credit. I think we're a poster child of why the R&D tax credit is very important for businesses. I'm Sherry Graham. I'm the COO and CFO of Hidrate Inc. And Hydrate is an innovative health tech company that creates smart water bottles. And these are water bottles that remind you to drink and hydrate and stay hydrated, which is a very important factor to overall health. And I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We're so happy to have you. So as promised, today we'll be covering the R&D tax credit and how it can benefit your business. We are going to learn about the technology behind Hydrate Spark. Sherry will share Hydrate's experience claiming the R&D tax credit and the benefits that this tax credit, which is often something that people do not know about. So it's always great to hear, number one, that it is actually something that can be put into use to help fund a business. And then we'll go through how, for those of you who have joined us on the phone, how your business might qualify. We realize not everyone's making smart water bottles, but I'm sure you guys are making something else that's smart. So to start, I just wanted to give you a brief history of what the credit is in case come into this webinar not knowing exactly what it is. So the research and development tax credit is a government incentive that is available to companies that are creating something new. It could be a product. So I think I just heard Sarah saying that the R&D tax credit either offsets your income tax liability or your payroll tax liability. So as long as you have W-2 employees or you're getting to that point where you're going to be incurring some sort of tax liability, this is definitely the right tax credit for you to explore. And I think it's always just great to understand so you can help grow and shape your business based off of this tax credit, because these are our tax dollars that are sitting there, and if they're not used, they're still going to remain sitting there. So take advantage of this for sure if your business is eligible. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Sherry to start talking about her experience with Leyton and the R&D tax credit. But I think a good place to start is just to understand what Hydrate is.
Great. Well, thank you, Maggie. Hydrate is a company that is really a combination of both a lot of software and hardware. And our focus is to help and encourage individuals' health by keeping them hydrated. And so we have products and platforms that encourage people to remain hydrated. And our primary product is a water bottle that glows and just softly reminds people to drink water and to stay hydrated. And there's a lot of software behind that, because the amount of water that one drinks is really contingent upon their environment, and so their health and the size, their weight, the weather. So there's a lot of technology that goes behind it. We are also partners with healthcare providers and other organizations that are interested in the health of their members, whether they be employees or participants, let's say, in a clinical trial. And so when we joined forces with Leyton a couple of years ago, it was a really, really wonderful fit, because like any young and growing company that's really technology focused, the R&D tax credit really fit us like a glove. And so, and we were really excited to be able to use the R&D tax credit after going through the exercise to offset our payroll tax liability on a dollar for dollar basis, which was wonderful, which meant that we immediately received benefit from using that tax credit. While the tax credit on income is great, many of the companies that are in this space do not yet have taxable income. So that income tax credit may be of lesser importance, and we were able to move up the use of this tax credit. Hidrate has grown really, really quickly, and we, for example, we've doubled our revenues. We doubled our revenues in 2020 over 2019, and we also really brought on board a lot of new partners and a lot of new businesses, whether they be new channels for our product. The other thing that I wanted to bring up as well is that a company like Hidrate and those that are really focusing on technology and software and hardware are typically out there raising money and taking lots of different actions to support and capitalize their business. And I think being smart about R&D tax credits and aware of this is something that's looked very favorably upon the investment community. So I think that not only do we get to use those R&D tax credits, but we also are educated on the different opportunities for Hidrate to fund its business. And we've got a lot of new products coming out this year too, which are really quite exciting. So it's been a great partnership.
So how did you first hear about Leyton and about the R&D tax credit? Were you guys aware of it before you started working on it, or was Leyton's outreach the first time?
I think that's a great question. And being a CFO and having finance as a finance background in corporate finance, I was always aware of R&D credits and other types of tax incentives for businesses. But so I knew I was primed for that and knew that they were out there. Had the impression, I have used it in the past many years ago. There are, as you know, lots of different types of credits, whether they be state, local, even international, and knew that it was a very complex areas. And so fast-paced world, I did not actually seek it out immediately. However, when Leyton approached me and said, hey, I think we might be a good resource for you to talk about tax credit, I was already primed to say, wow, yes, I need to rise to that, make that a priority. And that's what they helped me do. And they also helped me make it such that the complexities were not as insurmountable as I thought they would be. And we can talk about that a little bit later, how Leyton helped us put it together.
Okay, great.
And this slide here just really demonstrates the evolution of Hidrate. I think that it can resonate with other companies that are building their entities building their companies, we started at a startup weekend, like a tech weekend on a college campus. Our founders were actually college students at the time; they were seniors, and because of participating in that competition, they were able to attract some seed money to start the Hidrate product. And it was really just very conceptual. And we have gone through many evolutions. We've invested very heavily in technology, very heavily in development. We are still at our roots an innovation type of company. And so this timeline just talks about the evolution. We were formed in 2014, but didn't launch our first product until 2016. There is a window where there are windows of opportunity to utilize the tax credits. I think, Maggie, you can talk about more. And we fit in very nicely in that window. And so we're still continuing. We're launching new products. We've got a couple in store this year that we're very, very excited about. We recently launched our, which I demonstrated earlier, our steel version, which took a lot of research and development, a lot of time, a lot of resources to launch. And we have added new products to go along with the bottle. We've just recently added a supplement line that is getting extremely good traction in the marketplace too. But again, all of the products and services that we have developed require a great deal of manpower, resources, engineering, software development, prototype, which is very expensive, and which fits in very, very nicely with the tax credits, which is what these tax credits were created to do, and to supplement and support.
So this slide just touches on, if you don't mind to expand,
Sure.
Sherry, on some of the
Sure.
as
I mentioned, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
As I mentioned, we've got our bottle, which is a premium product. It is it again reminds users to stay hydrated. It reminds them the right level of hydration. It is Bluetooth enabled, which means that it connects via Bluetooth to our proprietary app that we developed in-house, and that app not only tracks water, but it makes the interaction with the consumer really, really delightful. There are goals, the graphics, the goal, and the different characteristics of the app. It connects to all of the popular health monitoring and kind of exercise type of applications. So if you're thinking of Google Health or Fitbit, it integrates with those very, very nicely. It has a very nice social element where Maggie, you and I can compete and watch each other for making sure that we stay hydrated. So it's really nice. It has a real depth of characteristics within the app that make this element of healthcare really, really work well for you. And it's the feedback, our user ratings are very, very high. And again, a lot of resources, a lot of time, a lot of development goes into developing products like this. So it's worked out really, really well for us. We are also in development and in beta launches with a SaaS platform that leverages off the app, and it really brings a type of monitoring and support to on a more global, more corporate level scale. And I'll give you an example. So you may, if you're in the construction industry, you might want to make sure your employees that are out in the field stay properly hydrated. This is just really good for your health. And this SaaS type platform can enable companies to do that in a very unobtrusive, well protected and private manner. It just really helps them do that. And obviously it's also very desirable from a corporate health function. You can, within this SaaS platform, offer incentives for your employees to stay connected with Hidrate, to stay really attuned to health, to your health benefits. And I'm not sure I brought it up earlier before, but hydration is so elementary that it really is the easiest way that someone can increase their overall health. I mean, it's very well documented. Hidrate has sponsored clinical trials where we demonstrate in a lot of different ways just the mere fact of staying hydrated helps an individual's health. And so, you know, a lot of your companies are focusing more and more on healthcare, and this SaaS platform really helps them do that. The last item on the slide is a supplement line. We've taken a lot of time and effort and focus on bringing something that is as high quality as our bottle line is, to supplement keeping individuals hydrated. And so we've just recently launched that, which is a whole nother animal, food additives.
So Sherry, who builds all this stuff? What do you have? I'd assume you have a number of engineers on staff, and now you must have you guys added some scientists who are actually like experimenting with the supplements?
We actually are in the midst of creating, partnering with advisors in the scientific and medical community. We've got a strong desire to do that. Internally, Hidrate develops all of our software and hardware within Hidrate. We don't outsource virtually anything. So the number of employees that we currently have is 27, which has nearly doubled since a year ago. And the vast majority of them are in the technical side, whether they're engineers, software development, or working on our hardware and the products. So we are innovating. We've got a lot of our resources used for not only maintaining and further developing the existing lines that we have, but developing further applications of our software. So it's really cool. I mean, the technology that we use, particularly within the bottle, is extensible to more than just a water bottle.
I think this is such a cool story to think that two college seniors were just doing a project and created this product that not only is helping people, but you guys are partnering with huge names like Apple to get your product out there. It's really such an impressive story. And I hope that some of the money you guys got back from the R&D credit helped you accelerate this process. That's what we see often with clients. They're able to take this money they didn't know was going to be there for them, and then hire another engineer a lot sooner than they thought they might be able to.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, cash is a very finite and very it's a commodity within Hidrate that we focus on really, really a lot. We focus on every single dollar, because every single dollar that we can free up brings the development and products to faster, but it also significantly reduces our cost of capital, right? I mean, this is, as I believe it was Sarah mentioned earlier, it's not free money, but it's as close to free as you can get. I mean, these are actual tax credits. These are not any type of a delayed or deferred payment. And so it will significantly help and impact your overall cost of funds, which for young companies such as ours, we have a very high cost of funds. And so, yes, there's a lot of benefit for that.
I agree. Well, thank you. So for those of you on the call or the webinar rather, I wanted to walk through some additional areas of R&D activities that qualify specifically for software companies, as I'm sure many of you are doing building products, but maybe not exactly like Hydrate. So broadly speaking, what's going to qualify is the creation of new software and the improvements that you make each year. So that could be something like leveraging data science, AI, machine learning, developing new innovative algorithms, internal software development or improvement, building custom APIs, and cloud computing integrations in development. But I think, if you're wondering if the work that you're doing might qualify for the credit, it's always worth asking, and anyone here at Leyton is always happy to advise you and help, because if you can claim the credit, you certainly should. And then to answer some of the questions that I see coming through the chat, more on the financial side, we've got a slide that outlines how you actually take this tax credit and make it into a credit. So there's two parts to the study. The first thing that we do is understand the activities that you're doing that qualify. And then we focus on 4 cost categories to attach cost to those activities. So we study the time of the people that are doing the work. And what's interesting about startups or early stage companies is that often even the salespeople, everyone in the company is playing a role in providing feedback and shaping the evolution of the product. So we end up getting to include not only the technical staff from engineers, we're also able to include perhaps the CEO because they're playing a major role, any supporting roles. So we'll look at every salary and then take percentages based on their contribution to the development of the product. And so those would be W-2s. And then we'll do the same for subcontracted. The thing with subcontracted is that if you're subcontracting work, it has to be performed in the US. So if it is overseas, it's not something that we can include, unfortunately. And then any raw materials associated with the research. So if I would imagine there was a decent amount of prototyping that went into Hydrate, and the costs associated with that would also be able to be included. A good way to think about it from a more broad view is anything that's supporting the R&D effort and the activities that we qualify as eligible, any costs associated, whether it's materials, people, or a development platform, we can include hopefully all, but at a minimum, a portion of that. And so what we do when we're performing the study is we'll get, again, a good understanding of the activities and then the people who are doing the activities, and then we study the work and proportionately apply a percentage of those people's time and then what they're making for a salary, cost of those materials, and we add that up into something called your qualified expenditure. And then the credit is calculated off the qualified expenditure. This credit is available at both the state level and also at the federal level. So the state level varies based upon what state you're in. And then the federal is approximately 10% of the qualified expenditure. And then I just want to touch a little bit on Leyton and why someone would choose a specialist and why someone might choose Leyton. As Sherry was saying, the R&D tax credit is complicated, and in an early stage company, even in any company, you are busy. People are extremely busy. They don't necessarily have the time to focus in on one tax credit. We've created an entire global business around one tax credit. So I think there's a lot to be said on how complicated it can be. And the approach that we take is not only do we have tax experts, tax attorneys, CPAs, financial consultants, but we also have a team of software experts. So we have software architects, software engineers who work alongside you to understand the activities that you're performing that qualify. I think what typically happens is there's the understanding of what R&D is from the general perception, but how the IRS defines R&D is a lot different. And if you use a specialist, you're going to be able to know exactly what is qualified as research and development, and you're going to find that your tax credit will be a lot larger using a specialist. And we also provide a substantiating report that lists out where all the R&D is within your claim and how we got there. And then that also serves as your first line of defense if the IRS was to ever ask you any questions, or if you were ever part of an audit. Of course, audits happen, so it's better to be prepared than to wing it. And then as far as a really quick overview about Leyton, we have a number of offices in Europe. We came here to the US shortly after the credit was made a permanent part of the tax code in 2015. And our headquarters is here in Boston. And then we also have an office in San Francisco, although obviously with COVID, we are all working from home. So, but our approach is to help people use this as a tax strategy. So you're able to not only claim this as an early stage company, but this can grow, and you're able to incorporate this into your long-term strategy. It's a permanent part of the tax code, and so you're able to use this tax credit as long as you're doing qualified activities. And just to answer one of the questions, if you have never claimed this credit before, you can look back by 3 years. So currently you'd be able to look back to 2017 and get the credit in arrears for 17, 18, and 19. And then if you don't have a tax liability to offset it, you can carry forward the credit for a period of 20 years. So if we can turn on everybody microphones, we would love to chat, ask questions. We'd love to learn about what it is you guys do, what software you're building, and what challenges you have, what experiences you have that have been good. So please, I know we're in the process of unmuting, so it might take a second, but I can also scroll up and address some of the other questions.